Peace, everybody. This your brother, Mr. Holipsism. I'm 4 minutes late. Apologize. I was just trying to post up, let people know that I was doing a show as usual. Last minute. I booked this like 10 minutes before 12. Just something I wanted to talk about that I feel that people don't really speak about. And that's, how do you provide jobs for Black people in America? I know it's not a sexy topic, but I want to ask some questions to the Black Power Americans, and there's some tough and powerful questions because you know how I feel about tough and powerful questions. Um, Black Power Americans don't believe that we should have a nation state on the continent. So my question is, peace, Mac. Yeah, I know you're at work, but that's cool. You can listen in. Peace, Ifosa. I think I'm saying that right. I always say your name. I'm thinking I'm not saying it right, but peace to you as well. Um, the question I have for Black Power Americans is this. I have a few questions actually, but the main question is, if you don't believe that controlling the land that you live on, building up infrastructure on the land, and having your own nation is feasible, because you're totally against that. You totally fight us on that. How do you intend to provide jobs for your people inside of America? Now, I know there are a lot of Black Power Americans that preach this nation within a nation thing. So I have a few tough and powerful questions for you nation within a nation people. And this is all centered around jobs, because at the end of the day, people tend to work in the interest of things that affect them personally. You know, these highfalutin concepts of nationhood and, you know, global economic power and blah 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 blah. You know, this is like the teacher in Charlie Brown to most people. They're like wah 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 wah. You know, they don't get it. It just flies completely over their head, or they can't relate to it. You know, mapping out a socioeconomic and political blueprint and all this other stuff. Nobody's really, that doesn't really hit home with people. But what usually hits home with people is things that affect them on an everyday basis. How am I going to get a job? How am I going to provide for myself and my family? Where are my children going to be educated at? How do I afford this education? If my children get sick, how do I pay for it? If I get sick, how do I pay for it? What type of salary can I command in order for me to have a decent life with myself and my family and provide for my children and my wife and everything? These are the things that people connect with in their neighborhood. Are the roads paved? Is the plumbing right? Is the electricity right? When it's cold, do I get heat? When it's hot, do I get, you know, central air or AC and whatever? These are the things that people are really concerned about because it affects them personally. So this is why I want to get into jobs. When you have control over the land, and let's say we're dealing with undeveloped land, you have to develop this undeveloped land. And the process of developing undeveloped land is called infrastructure. What is infrastructure? Infrastructure, I'm going to pretend like nobody ever listens to any of my shows. Infrastructure, you have the hard infrastructure, which is um, the fixed the fixed things that's in your land, like roads and highways is part of the fixed infrastructure. That's just there. Um, your gas piping, your electrical lines, be it overhead or underground. Um, in a society that's more green, then you're talking about wind and solar and all the other sources of energy, nuclear, whatever. Your bridges, your tolls, your tunnels, your highways, your roads. These are all part of the fixed infrastructure. When you build your buildings, that's the part of the fixed infrastructure. You know, your traffic system, like when everything is in place and you want to have your in your cities the way to control the flow of traffic. Or if you want to even, you know, like the way that modern cities are being built now, they're kind of like downplaying cars in the city and dealing more with high speed rails and in a rail type system so that people don't have to take cars. But you know, cars, people identify with cars, and cars is personal for people. So, you know, peace, Dundada. So these are all a part of the fixed infrastructure. Then you have the soft infrastructure, which are all the institutions that maintain your hard infrastructure, which is basically your government institutions, the institutions that help maintain the roads and highways and the bridges and the tolls and whatever, and the gas piping and the electrical lines and all of this stuff that everybody in your nation needs. Now, when you think of it in that way, and when you control the land and you're building up the infrastructure, what better job creation tool is there than that? Think about how America provided jobs for their people when they were building up the infrastructure of this country, when they were establishing the highways and the roads and whatever. It takes people to build those. So when you're engaging in the process of infrastructure, hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, and building up this undeveloped land, you are creating jobs for your people. You're creating industries when you build up infrastructure. So those industries employ people. Now, I have some tough and powerful questions for the nation within a nation people here in America. What infrastructure, all right, where are you going to establish a nation? And what infrastructure are you going to be building up in America that can provide jobs for your people? Are you going to have to create new roads and new highways, or are those roads and highways already established and in present? They're existing. Is the United States government going to cede those roads over to you, and you're going to take control over the roads and the highways and the soft infrastructure that maintains them? Are they just going to give that to you? Where's the new frontiers in America that you can build and develop undeveloped land in America? You're going to do that in Atlanta? I went to Atlanta in April. Atlanta's infrastructure is pretty much set. What industries are going to provide jobs for Black people in this nation within a nation here in America? These are tough and powerful questions that I'm asking right now. I have a feeling I'm not going to get any answers to these tough and powerful questions, because most Black Power Americans, most militant integrationists, most Captain America Negroes, most YouTube and Facebook pretendians and indigenous Instagrammers, Native American tweeters, and all that shit, they don't even talk about infrastructure. Is there actually? I want to ask y'all something. Is there anybody anywhere else besides the BAIO that's talking about infrastructure and jobs? What other forum do you see or do you go to where you hear people talking about this stuff? Where are the architects and the engineers um, and the skilled trade people going to Sarnetta and the 125th Street crew to build with them? No disrespect, but I'm just keeping it real. Is this where you're seeing skilled people going? Are the skilled people going to the conscious community so they can build this nation within a nation inside of America? Are the skilled people coming to the BAIO? Are the IT people coming to the BAIO? Are the engineers coming to the BAIO? Are the architects coming to the BAIO? Are the scientists coming to the BAIO? Peace, Bell. Bell Thanos in the house. Peace, Shaka. Peace, Black African Power Network. You see where I'm going with this? This is not going to be no long show. I just want to get this out because everybody's coming to me about powerful and tough questions, but nobody ever wants to answer my powerful and tough questions. You notice that? Is anybody jumping up to the plate to answer my 3 questions to a Black Power American and a militant integrationist? I don't see anybody making any YouTube videos saying, oh, let me answer these 3 questions so I can show that Holip is full of shit. I guarantee you ain't going to see that video. How are you going to provide jobs for your people now and into the future if you don't control the land, if you're not building and developing that land and building up infrastructures, hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure institutions to maintain it, and having a nation of your own and a government of your own? Because the government alone provides jobs. The infrastructure alone provides jobs. The soft infrastructure provides jobs. That would be considered the white collar workers. And the blue collar workers would work on the hard infrastructure. The process of building up your nation provides jobs for the people in your nation. This is why, and I'm telling y'all guys, this is the reason why I say, and keep in mind, I've been in this stuff for a little bit. So I'm a little bit more, I won't even say jaded, I'm more real when it comes to how I deal with these people. And a lot of people don't like it, and I understand. You may think that I'm rude to them or I'm caustic and I'm crass and I'm not being unified or whatever fuck that means. But the reality is this, man. And I use the analogy that I did before. If you have a dark room and there are 10 people in that room, the room is dark, there's 10 people in it, in a pitch black dark room. But there's a working light socket at the top in the ceiling, and there's a working light bulb on the floor. How long do you think it would take for that room to have light if those people in that room really wanted it to be with light? Will it take a couple of minutes? Will it take an hour? Will it take a few hours? Will it take a day? Will it take a week? Will it take a couple of weeks? Would it take a month? Would it take a year? Would it take years? Would it take 60 years? 70 years? How long do you think it would take if those 10 people in that room wanted that room to be with light? So this is the mentality that I'm coming from. My position is that there's a calculated effort for Black folks to stay in the position that they are in this country. And I'm not saying that it's obvious that white people want us to stay in the same position. If it was only white people that wanted us to stay in the same position, we really wouldn't have a problem. But the problem is the people that we look to as leaders, the people that we look to as representatives, the people that we look to for knowledge and information, those people want us to stay in the position that we're staying in, because I refuse to believe that it takes 70 years to put a fucking light bulb into a working socket. It doesn't take that long. And this is not no miscommunication. This is not no, oh, well, we can't get on the same page. We having problems. No, it's a calculated effort for us to stay where we are and not move forward and not gain power. It's intentional. It's not a fucking accident. And this is my position. And I would love for somebody to prove me wrong. Since day one, since I started my YouTube journey, if you go back 9, 10 years, whatever, I don't know when I started this thing. One of the first videos that I did was there is no such thing as Black leadership. I think if I'm not mistaken, it might be my most viewed video. It's either that. I think one of the videos I actually just deleted. It was one with some Eminem bullshit, something about the Eminem cipher or some shit. That was like second, or that might have even been first. I got rid of it because it's like irrelevant. But if you go back to one of my first videos, I said there's no such thing as Black leadership. I think we're now in 2018. It's 12:19 p.m. at July 30th. I think I've remained consistent in that stance. And I think that I've been proven correct in that stance. Because the bottom line is, oh God, I sound like Kala. Bottom line is, no, for real. It doesn't take this long, man. It doesn't take this long. Me, Kala, Minister, Earl, and Dev, and all of us decided when Obama got into office to form the BAIO. That's a handful of people. Currently in the BAIO, I think is almost approaching like 500 members. That's within the time that we started. And keep in mind, we're nobodies. We have no big microphone. Nobody knows who we are. But yet we've managed to change the narrative in the so-called conscious cultural community online. Because it's very difficult for anybody to get any traction if you ain't talking about nationhood. If you're not talking about empowerment, real empowerment, and not just a bunch of misery merchant bullshit, it's going to be, you may get some views because there's other videos and other channels that get more, definitely more views and subscribers than we do. But the thing is, nobody takes them seriously. You know, you can do, I mean, videos with cats get millions of views. Nobody takes those seriously. Videos with people farting gets plenty of views. Nobody takes them seriously. I'm talking about people that take any of this stuff, land infrastructure nation, or this cultural conscious community stuff seriously. If you're not talking about nationhood, nobody's paying any attention to you. Peace. What's up, Chief? They may watch your videos for entertainment or to see who's the latest beef, who the latest black talking heads that's beefing with each other, because they can, you know, pull their popcorn out and watch that and be entertained by it. But they don't take any of these groups seriously. We have engineers coming into the BAIO. Engineers, architects, people that operate heavy machinery. We have people that's in every trade skill that you can think of joining the BAIO. Why? Why are they attracted to the message of the BAIO, but these same people are not going in droves to the conscious community? I don't know if this is relevant, but I'm thinking about it now, so maybe it is. I don't know. There's a 5% school in Harlem. This is not too far from the 125th Street crew. The Nation of Gods and Earths have a school in Harlem. Do you know how much they pay to maintain that school? Now, if I'm wrong, I want somebody from the Nation of Gods and Earths school in Harlem to call me out on it, because I heard this from somebody that's in the Nation of Gods and Earths that's in that school. Now, if I'm wrong, call me out on it, because I do not like putting out misinformation, but this is coming straight from the source of someone that's at that school. $1. Yep, $1 to maintain that school. I didn't believe it myself when I heard it. I'm like, no, this you joking, right? $1. Maybe I should ask Minister Dawood and he can check out his sources to see if I'm telling the truth. Yeah, Shauna. If it ain't $1, it's damn near next to nothing to maintain that school. So what's going on with the school? What are we doing? Because I know if I had a full school and I only was maintained, it didn't cost me anything to maintain that school. Shit, I'd be doing all kinds of things in the community. Peace. What's up, Jamal Lamar? You joined the Pennsylvania BAIO. What's your next move? Your next move is to meet other people in Pennsylvania, and the first move is for y'all to have an actual Google chat, Google Hangout. Try to find out what those people do. Let them find out what you do. I think that's the first move. And the rest of it is going to be organic because it's really up to you and the energy that you want to put into whatever y'all guys are going to do. Because, like I said, there is no real leaders in the BAIO. There's nobody giving any marching orders. So, if let's say Jamal, you became the admin for the BAIO Pennsylvania chapter, what you do is really up to you. How you go about. I figured the main thing would be trying to get more people in Pennsylvania into your chapter. That's I think that would be one of the forefront things. But how you go about doing it is completely up to the chapter in Pennsylvania. How California operates is completely up to the chapter in California. The thing that makes this group so great, this social network, the only marching orders is land infrastructure nationhood. We don't really have this micromanaging thing where we looking over every chapter to make sure blah 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 that they no this movement has to build up itself organically. If people want nationhood, then people have to get involved in nationhood. And like I said, it doesn't require no ultimate sacrifice. You don't have to be Independence Day driving into the alien ship and blowing your shit up to protect the world. You don't have to do any of that stuff, man. Join your local chapter, reach out to people in your chapter, find out what they do, and then try to organize and plan events. Or not organize and plan membership drives and stuff, like how to build up the membership in that particular area. Because everything that's happening in these local chapters collectively are going to be presented to whatever African government is willing to work with African Americans and diaspora Africans at the end of the day. If you can go to an African government and say, hey, look at what we got. Look at how many engineers we have. Look at how many architects we have. Look at how many skilled trade people we have. We are ready to build and we want to work with you. It's a lot, like Bell always says, and I say, we're building the we. We're building the us. We're building the our. It has to be a tangible and concrete thing. It can't be some vague abstraction like it is right now. No problem, man. No problem at all. Because right now it's a vague abstraction. When people talk about we and we got to do this and us and that, those people don't tell. They cannot tell you who the fuck they talking about. Because I'm not going to speak for all black people. I'm going to speak for the black people that want a nation of their own. I'll speak for them. That's my we. That's my us, and that's my our. If you're not down with that, then what the fuck am I concerned about? What, like people asking me, what about the people in America? If you go to Africa, then what about the people here in America? I'm like, that's your problem, nigga. Ain't you the we can do it right here, niggas? If you the we can do it right here, niggas, why are you asking people that want to go to the continent to establish a nation what they're gonna do for the people that you're supposed to be doing something for right here? Do you see how contradictory these niggas are? I tried at the beginning to say that I'm not going to curse, but fuck it. I can't. I got to just say how I feel, man. And if people is getting their panties in a bunch by hearing a curse word, then I don't know what to do with you. We out here getting killed by the police, and you worrying about me cursing? Anyway, I know it's not y'all, but I know some people like, oh, you don't have to curse all the time. Man, shut the fuck up. Grow up. I can't stand that. Let me not go there because that's going to go in another direction. I've asked this question too. Since the infrastructure is already built up in, let's say, Atlanta, people, what's the states that people want us to say that black folks need to take over? The nation within the nation, people. Could y'all type that in the chat room? What are the? I think it's is it 3 states? Is it 3 states? I'm not sure. What do I think of Sahara? Sahara. I haven't really thought of it. To be honest with you. Um, let's see. Not to be honest, I mean, I'm not even going to play around with that. I haven't thought about Sahara at all. Oh, they want the South. Okay, what does that mean? Wait a minute. They want North and South Carolina? That's what they want? Oh, if they want North and South Carolina, then the tough and powerful questions are going to get even tougher. Oh, okay. Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. To be honest with you, Fosa, I'm not even worried about them fighting the U.S. military. Like, that's the last thing that they got to worry about. My issue is more, you ain't going to have to fight the the U.S. military is not who you even got to be concerned about. What are you going to do about the white people that exist in those states? That's my question. What's going to happen to the white people in North Carolina and the white people in South Carolina, the white people in Alabama, the white people in Mississippi, and the white people in Louisiana? Do you realize that they called Barack Obama the second coming of Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad because he wanted to provide, like, he came up with a weak Republican health care bill called the Affordable Care Act, and he was a black militant? What do you think is going to happen if you try to introduce a bill where you want to take over those states and displace all of those white folks in America? And where they're going to be displaced to? These are tough and powerful questions. You know why? Y'all know why I named this show "Tough and Powerful Questions," right? you should you should know me by now. White people ain't going nowhere. You got that right. I guess that's the answer. Thank you, Ifosa. Afrikstan will be located near the shore or near rivers and streams. Desert is out of the question. I would say, yeah. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I personally think the shore, like having our nation state near the shore, is perfect because that's where your airports and your seaports are. You know, like I think it's just like that's why I was looking at places like Angola and Namibia and places like that, like in that particular region, because it's just so perfect. And also, it is somewhat developed. Like there's some infrastructure there that can be renovated and worked with. You know. And then if there is any undeveloped land, that's even better. Like somebody in one of Dinah's shows said, there's uninhabitable land. You can't inhabit the land. Oh my God, man. People need to read, pick up a book and read sometimes and stop just pulling shit out of your ass and pretending that it's facts. Yeah. Angola and Namibia were my first choices too. I mean, at first we was trying to keep it under wraps, you know, because we didn't want people throwing salt in the game. But I mean, it's pretty obvious. If you've been in the BAIO and you see the way that we talk and you see what we're interested in, you would just come to that conclusion that that's what we're looking at. But it's not the only place we're looking at. But I know for me personally, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at those reasons. I think those reasons are perfect, and I don't think it has a lot of high political unrest, you know, because you don't want to go to places where you have a lot of political activity going on. It's very hard to, it would be the equivalent of trying to set up something in America. You don't want to go to places where there's a lot of conflict and shit going on. You know what I mean? Peace, fam. Black At Your Production. Please subscribe to that YouTube channel, Black At Your Production. One of my realest subscribers, man. For real, one of my realists. Yeah, like Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria's got their own thing going on. They got to deal with, yo, they got their own thing they got to deal with. I think we definitely need to go to some place where we can have access to that shore and access to building seaports and airports or renovating seaports and airports and stuff like that. But my question is for the Black Power American, because they want to stay here in America. So my questions for the Black Power American who wants to stay in America and wants to have this nation within a nation, since you're not really going to be building up the infrastructure and you can't really renovate the infrastructure because the infrastructure doesn't really belong to you. And I doubt very seriously if the white man is going to give you the infrastructure, just hand it over to you. So where's your jobs going to come from? What industries are you going to create that provide jobs for your people? Black Atcha says he hasn't made any content in a while, so don't expect much. But the content that you have is good enough. It's going to be much more than what these people are getting now. So don't worry about it, fam. And trust me, if anybody knows about not making content, is me. Because there'd be long stretches where I don't do a video or put anything out. I've just been doing it recently because I learned how to work this YouTube live thing, and it's kind of fun and it's actually pretty easy. So it makes it easy for me when I have something to talk about to just book the show and talk about it without having to go through all this other stuff and sitting down and editing videos and shit like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, subscribe to his channel. Isaac says you've got Black thought creators that are against repatriation, but want their listeners to crowdfund a business and then fly to New York City to see a white supremacist debate a Hotep scholar. Yeah, we ain't got no money unless you're giving it to them. When it comes to giving it to them, then the money just goes. But you know, is it really that different than anything else? It's like America. Let's use America as an example. I was having a discussion with my cousin about this yesterday. Jeff Bezos is worth $100 billion. I don't know what he's worth now, but I know it's over 100 billion. People want to act as if people have a problem with rich people. People don't have a problem fundamentally with rich people. Like they want to create this narrative or paint this picture, this straw man, that there's this attack on the elite, the attack on the wealthy. Nobody gives a fuck about elites and wealthy people. We've always had people that had a lot of money and people that can buy more shit that we could buy. Nobody ever formed any posses or got out their pitchforks and torches just because you managed to become rich with a successful business or enterprise. People expect that. They don't care about it. When you go on vacation, everybody ain't going to get the penthouse. We already know that. What am I going to do? Do you see people when at these vacation resorts getting together and attacking the person who has the penthouse? They don't care. They acknowledge, listen, this person makes more money. They should probably get a better room than me. I don't make that much. So then why should I be up there? I go on vacation. All I want to know is that the room is nice and has all the amenities that I need. And I'm good because I'm not going to be spending the time in my fucking hotel room. So most people are like that. Most people's means are very meager. Most people, I tell you, this is what most people want in the world. They want to have a job, they want to have a ride, they want to have a place to stay, and the ability to go on a vacation twice a year. Wow. Wow. How dare they? And do you know the funny part about it is there are people like Jeff Bezos who can't sleep at night knowing that there are people that can do that. Why do I say that? This nigga won't even give his own workers a living wage. This douchebag went on Twitter, and this is why I was explaining to my cousin. This is what people don't hate the wealthy. People hate this shit. This guy gets on Twitter and he's asking people on Twitter to give him suggestions on what he should do with his money. Because he's trying to get into all of this philanthropy and I can't say that word for shit. Philanthropic work or whatever. So he's going on Twitter asking people what he should do, what endeavors should he engage in with all this money that he has. So it wasn't just one person, but a lot of people sent him a tweet back, basically paraphrasing saying this: why don't you pay your workers a living wage, you unbelievable douchebag? Are you kidding me? If you have $100 billion, why do you have to buy politicians so you can get a tax cut? This is what people hate. They don't hate wealthy people, but they hate wealthy people that have a fully vested interest to make sure that they don't have shit, that they're completely broke. They said to provide health care for everyone in this country would be much less. I'm not going to give exact figures because I don't have them in front of me right now, but it would be much less than the Iraq war, which cost 2 trillion and counting. But whenever you start talking about universal health care and actually providing health care for the citizens of your nation, the first question is, well, where the money going to come from? But when it comes to going to war and tacking up a bill of $2 trillion, that's a blank check. Nobody ever asked where the money's coming. Did Donald Trump just recently got a military budget increase? Did anybody ask where the money's going to come from? Or did the Republicans and the Democrats universally co-sign it, approve it? But now when you talk about people actually having health care or people having a living wage, then the socialist boogeyman comes out and everybody's so afraid that the socialism is going to take over and the United States is going to be turned into Venezuela. This is what people hate. They don't hate rich people. And this is why, and I say, and I'm going to speak specifically about my vision for Afrikstan, my vision for our nation. My vision for our nation is this: what is the purpose of having a nation if you don't take care of the citizens of your nation? So, in my opinion, and you guys can disagree with me, and there are some people within the circle that do disagree with me, but I'm just telling you what my feelings is on how a nation should be for their people. If you are a citizen of a nation, if you work, you should be allowed to live. Wow, how radical! If you're a citizen of a nation, if you get sick, your health should be taken care of without you going broke or bankrupt. Ooh, ooh. In your nation, your education should be provided for every person in that nation. Provided. That's what I feel. So your education, your health care, and your ability, if you want to work, if you work, you should be working and having a living wage and an ability to take care of yourself and your family, provide food, clothing, and shelter for yourself and your family if you are willing to work a 40-hour work week. Is that unreasonable? Is that going to turn Afrikstan into Venezuela? Do you know that model that I just said is provided in most industrialized nations right now? that the top 3, 5 countries in the world are social democracies? No one can argue with that. That's not even up for a discussion. The top 5 countries in the world, go check it out. Look at the happiness index and all of that stuff. What countries come at the top? Social democracies. Why? Which countries have the most happiest citizens? The countries that take care of their fucking citizens. So if you're going to be a part of a nation, that nation should take care of you. Bottom line. I do not believe that a nation is for a small group of elite people to fill their pockets up at the expense of the people that's in the nation. But the key problem here is, how do you get those people who actually give a fuck about the people in power? Because if you don't get people to give people who give a fuck about the people in power, then what you're going to get is what you got here in America. What you're going to get is a small group of people trying to twist the system to work for their own benefit and fuck everybody else. That's not what I feel a nation should be. Now, if there's anybody that disagrees with me, now what you want to call it, I say, if you're going to build something successful, look at the models that actually work, and then you can take that and arrange it and edit it to whatever fits your particular needs. But don't deny the fact that it works. Social democracies work. Social democracies are kicking every country's ass right now in terms of the quality of life of its citizens. Because that's what a nation is all about. Why do you think I want a nation for my people? I want a nation for my people so that my people can have a better way of life. I don't want I don't want a child. I think it's tragic when a black child has to be socialized into an American system that reinforces the fact that they're a second and third class citizen. Oh, that's another. Yeah, Brother Nubian says they have 3 days work off. That's another thing. Let's provide work weeks and work time that's reasonable and factors into the equation. People have lives. People want to be with their families. See, but you can only do that if you have people in power that are looking out for the interests of the people and making policies that work in the interests of the people, and not making policies that work in the interests of their big money donors that back them. I don't believe in career politicians in Afrikstan. I don't believe in the concept of a career politician. I believe that there should be a constant exchange of knowledge and a passing on of knowledge to the next group of people so that they can go on and take the ball and run with the baton. Not somebody that's been in office for 70 goddamn years or 40 years and you just basically just there. And then you got the nerve. You got people in America, politicians in America, that have been politicians for 50 years. And I'm talking about specifically Republican politicians. And you talking about small government. You want to make the government small. Why don't you leave the government, bitch? It'll be smaller without you. Yes, there will be term limits. I'm a big fan of term limits. Now we can discuss how long the term should be, because some people say 4, some people say 8, some people say 2. We can have a discussion about that, but there's going to be a term. There's going to be a term, and then you get the fuck up out of there. Pass that knowledge on to someone else, and then you go about the process of being a citizen. Do something with your life instead of being a politician. Do something for society. Is there anything, like, you look at these politicians, besides sitting on your ass and passing bills? Why not you as an individual do something? Is there a skill that you have? Do you like to do art? Do you have you like to build buildings or something? Do something with your life. You know? But that should be like a fast turnover position. You like, give this person they 4 or 5 years, let them do it, pass that knowledge on to the next person, and you be out, and we keep that circle going. A peaceful transition of power every term. That's what my vision is. And the quality of life, the quality of life for the Afrikstan citizen should be the best quality of life of any nation on the face of the earth. And especially considering the fact that we're dealing with African Americans and African diasporans. Especially considering that, because we've been the most abused people on the face of this earth, the most abused people on the planet. So when you got to forgive me, if we get a nation of our own, I'm going to be very, very hard on the leadership. Very, very hard on the leadership. You better. I'm telling. I don't want to put this out here, because I just want to. I want to be level-headed, but I'm gonna just say this: there's certain things that it just will be unacceptable. Unacceptable. You. Mm, let me not. You know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put that out there. I'll just say this: if you intend to be a politician in Afrikstan, you better work in the interests of African people. This always happens. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me handle this. Yeah, sorry about that. That was my cuz. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah. Oh, let me scroll back up so I can see what you're all saying. Sorry. Absolutely no royalty in Afrikstan. Nigeria has chiefs who have millions of dollars in assets. That's why Nigerian diaspora are the ones investing in Nigeria. Nigerian locals aren't footing the bill. True. I hate it when they scream socialism and say they don't want their money to help others while the money is used to kill melanated people all over the world. True. Peace, Jonathan. What's up, man? That's your vision too. Good. I believe it's Finland or Sweden that gives mother 1 to 2 years paid maternity. Yeah, Finland and Sweden and Norway is kicking everybody's ass. And then what you're going to hear when you mention those, oh, well, those are homogenous nations. And what the fuck does that mean? It's homogenous. That doesn't mean anything. What is the system? The system can be duplicated. It doesn't matter whether it's homogenous. So what the makeup, the demographic makeup of the society is. What's the structure of it? It's all kinds of things, man. First of all, I could tell you just out of personal experience, you know what I feel? Every 8-hour shift should have an hour lunch and 2 15-minute breaks paid for. Anybody got a problem with that? I don't know how the unions made it so that the companies, have cut back on the hour lunch, the lunch hour, and made it like a half hour and 20 minutes. No, fuck that. You work an 8-hour shift, you have 1 hour lunch, 2 15-minute breaks, and they all paid for. Anybody got a problem with that position? That's my policy position. That's my bill that I'm going to introduce. Does anybody, do I get a yay or a nay on that? 8 hours, you get an hour lunch break and 2 15-minute breaks. Those 2 15-minute breaks you can take at any point. You can take it before the lunch or take them after the lunch, whatever you want to do. But you should get that. I don't know how the U.S. unions bent to that bullshit. I only pay. The companies have taken a position. I'm only going to pay you when you actually sitting at your desk working. No, nigga, you're going to pay me for getting some nourishment to come back to your desk to work, bitch. How do we let them get away with that shit? If I was in the union right now, they'd probably kill me because I would never go for the bullshit that these unions have done. We had an hour lunch, an hour lunch break before. The unions was the one that caved on that. And don't get me wrong, I love unions. I believe that you should unionize shops because the unions work in the interest of the workers. That's what they're there for, and it puts you and it protects the workers. Because if I wasn't in a union shop, I would be under that what do they call it, employee at will shit that most corporations are on, where they can just tap you on your shoulder and say, get the fuck out. When you have a union, there's a process for them to get rid of you. It ain't that easy. You can, when you have a union, you can literally show up to your job with a needle hanging out of your arm and drunk. And you know what'll happen? They'll send you to rehab, but you ain't losing your job. So people that talk about, I don't want no union, you out of your goddamn mind if you want to work at a job without a union. If you're working at one without a union, bless you, I'm praying for you. Because that means that you're under that employee at will. All it takes for that employer to not want you is to tap you on your shoulder and say, get out. And there's nothing you can do about it, which is the reason why I don't believe in giving 2 weeks notice. If I'm working at a job where I'm an employee at will, you ain't getting 2 weeks notice from me. Sorry. I'm supposed to let you know what to do and manage to work your shit out for me. But then when it comes to me, you could just tell me to get out. No. So if you can tell me to get out, you're just gonna come and expect me to be to work one day, and I'm just not gonna be there. I'm not giving you 2 weeks notice. I'm gonna do the same thing to you that you're doing to me. But that's another story. Yeah, we need unions. We need unions. Now, unions have their issues and problems, because every time you set up something, you got a bunch of people that sit at the top that want to milk the shit for their own benefit. We always know that. I mean, that's always going to be an issue. But I'd rather have a union than not have one. I'd rather deal with that nonsense because that you can kind of take care of. If the workers really are active and really care about their union, that can be taken care of. Because a bad union is usually a sign of apathy amongst the workers. The workers don't participate. They don't go to the meetings. They just, give up their dues and go home. They're not really active in it. But when you have workers that are active in the union and really paying attention to what the union does, you're going to have people working in their interest. Worker co-op of Moondragon Spain might be a good model, at least components of it. Yo, man, anything that works, I'm down for. Anything that works. Flawless Jewels, peace. I'm down for it. Black Lily, peace. Add War, peace. Brother Nubian, D Nubian, all of y'all. Everybody that's in this chat room that I did not say peace to you. But yeah, the bottom line is to sum all of that up. What I'm for in Afrikstan, my personal vision, you should not be a part of a nation if that nation doesn't take care of you. So we want the most highly educated people, which means that the government should provide education for their people. And I'm not just talking about public school education. I'm talking about high level education, university level education for everybody. Because how does that not benefit the government and benefit the nation? Do you want a situation like in America where your people are blithering idiots and that way you can have a Donald Trump elected into office? Because if you had an educated population, there wouldn't be a Donald Trump in office. You can't let a charlatan can't rise to power if the people are intelligent. And how do the people get intelligent? If they can go to school without going broke. This system sucks, man. This place is a shithole. And this is what we are so in love with. We can't. So we're saying that with our genius and our ingenuity, we cannot design a better system than the American system, which is not even the #1 system in the world. I'm going to find the happiness index for y'all. Everybody won't think I'm just talking shit. The World Happiness Report. That's what it is. World Happiness Report. Let's see. Pardon me, y'all. I'm just looking for this here, making sure I got the right thing. This is the actual report itself. And let's see. Top 10 happiest countries in the world. Number 1, New Zealand. Oh, this is a 2016. No, let's do that. 2018 or 2017. Okay, here. Happiness index. These are for, this is the last report that they did. And these are the top 10. Finland is number 1. Norway second. Third is Denmark. 4 is Iceland. 5 Switzerland. 6 the Netherlands. 7 Canada. 8 New Zealand. 9 Sweden. And 10 Australia. You know where the United States is? United States is number 18. So they've actually moved up a little. Let me post that for you since you don't believe me. So if you go back, like, for the past 10 years, you're going to see Finland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Switzerland, and the Netherlands dominating the top every single year for the past. I'm just going to say the past 10 years because I haven't gone back further than that. But for the past 10 years, those countries have been dominating in terms of the top countries in the world. Right. All countries that focus on their people, Bell. So one thing that you guys, if I have anything to do with it, I will rest assure you, there will not be a Negro in Afrikstan that's trying to enrich himself at the expense of the people. You heard me? There's not going to be a Negro in Afrikstan that's in a position of power that's going to enrich himself at the expense of the people while Holip is anywhere around on the scene. And I'm quite sure a lot of y'all can say the same thing. I don't think that y'all going to let that shit go down. I am not going through all of this heartache and trials and tribulations and trouble and talking about nationhood so we can establish a nationhood, a nation on a continent, and then get treated the same way we do in America, but with a black face. No, 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 no. That shit is not going to happen. And personally, I feel that we can be better than all of those countries on the top 10 list. We have the ability to outmaneuver, to actually have a better, our life for our citizens should be better than anybody's because we know too much. We have so much information laid out before us. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. We have examples of what works in nations. We have examples of what doesn't work in nations. We have examples of legislation that led to the nation's downfall. We have all of this information, all this history in front of us. There's no excuse why our nation shouldn't be better than everybody's nation. And it can serve as a model for African nations across the continent. Because when you create a nation state and it's thriving and it's successful and the people support it, the people love it, the people fight for it, the people defend it, everybody wants their nation to be like that. And it's going to be very, very hard for some African leader who's sitting up at the top of the food chain, swallowing up all the resources and impoverishing and keeping the people impoverished. It's going to be hard for that person to exist. It's going to be very hard for them to maintain any type of peace in their nation, because Afrikstan is going to be a shining light and an example of how you do it right, and we have all the tools necessary to do it right. So I know the show took on another, well, not really. We just expanded on the tough and powerful questions that I asked the Black Power Americans. But since they're not going to really answer it, if you notice, the trolls don't show up to these type of shows because we're actually asking questions that they can't answer. No illegal immigrants in Afrikstan. You must and will apply for citizenship or political asylum. Exactly. There will not be, and I said this before, there's not going to be no statue outside of Afrikstan saying, "Bring me your huddled masses." Haven't we learned our lesson from America? No. Your huddled masses can go to America. Afrikstan is primarily for African Americans and African diasporans, people scattered across the globe as victims of the transatlantic slave trade who never had an opportunity to have a nation of their own. That's what Afrikstan is for. Afrikstan is not for the huddled masses of the world. Let America take care of the huddled masses of the world. And you see how that's working out for them. So yeah, Ifosa, I definitely agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on term limits. No motherfucker being in power for 80 years. I don't give a shit how much you like them. We need to divorce ourselves from this mentality of personality worship. And we need to start worshiping a system. Because systems are greater than the sum of its parts. Did I say that right? No, I didn't say that right. Sorry. The system is greater than the individual parts. The sum is the actual system. Sorry. See, that's what you get for running your mouth and you thinking a lot and your mouth can't keep up with what's going on in your head. So I need to calm it down. In the event our neighbors have war, refugee camps will be set up with biometrics that track you and cannot leave the refugee under any circumstance. In the event neighbors have war, refugee camps will set up with biometrics that track you and cannot. I never really thought about that, but that makes sense. I do believe that the refugee camps, we should definitely have refugee camps. And the refugee camps is probably going to be much better living than they had in their own nation. But we have to have some limits on that. You know what I'm saying? We have to have a cap on any refugee, the numbers of refugees that we allow into these camps. Because we do want to be humane. Like if people are getting slaughtered by some ruthless dictator on African soil, we need to provide some type of haven for that. I don't have a problem with that, but we need to have a cap on that shit. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. What's the name of that book again, Hala? What book are you talking about? Black Lily. Peace to you. Anti-Gravity 74. I totally understand where he's coming from. I get where he's coming from. Because just look at what's going on with America. America set itself up. They set themselves up for it. I think well, you know what? Let me not. Who gives a fuck about America? I don't care. Whatever they do with the refugees or immigrants, I don't care. I actually don't have an issue with America with so-called illegal immigration in America. I could care less about. I could care less about how they deal with it. My mind is on the continent. The one about the art of systems thinking, Black Lily. The art of systems thinking. That's the book that I can't pronounce her name, but the user won for my 3,000 subscriber video. The art of systems thinking. Peace. What's up, Robin? The girl wonder. Please. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Brian. What's up, Brian? Peace information, man. Sorry if I missed anybody. No problem. But yeah, anybody got any tough and powerful questions for me? Because you know I'm scared of tough and powerful questions. So don't make it too tough or too powerful because I'll end the show and run out of here like I normally do. Tough and powerful questions. These niggas are funny, man. Anti-gravity 74 holla, but that's America's fault. They overthrew Guatemala and Honduran countries and plant. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Peace, Brian. I hear you, brother. There was something else. Like, all right, I was thinking about Afrikstan. It was something. It wasn't illegal immigration, military service. Every Afrikstan citizen having compulsory military service. I don't really have a strong position on that, Ifosa. I don't really have a strong position on it. It's something that I definitely think maybe we need to do some shows about that and talk about the pros and cons of that. But it definitely is an interesting. Oh, that. Thank you. Now you made me. You know what I do think should be compulsory? Voting. I'm not for voting in America, but I feel that if you have your own nation, you have to vote. You have to. It should be mandatory for you to vote. There should not be, because it has to be consensus from the people. And none of this, and see, this is another thing. Like Kala doesn't agree with this, but I understand why Kala doesn't agree with this because he's thinking about it from the perspective of an uneducated group of people. He's saying that if you have a system where the most votes gets the person in, then you can have a Donald Trump situation where you have an uneducated populace. Because all you got to do is appeal to that uneducated populace, and then you get all types of charlatans becoming leaders of your country. He has a point, but what if the populace is educated? Do you think that an educated populace would allow, like, let's say, with those countries that I said were on the happiness index, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Switzerland, Netherlands, do you think that any of those countries would elect a Donald Trump into office? Think about it. So this thing that Kyle is talking about makes perfect sense if you're talking about an uneducated population. But if if the population is educated, then yeah, voting should be mandatory. And when the most person that gets the most votes becomes the leader or the representative for that particular time period, I don't see any problem with that. But like, yeah, Adward, what he's saying is perfect. It makes perfect sense right here in the states because the so-called democratic process got you Donald Trump. Actually, the electoral college would have had, if we had gone by popular vote, Hillary Clinton would be president right now because she got more votes than Donald Trump. So even in America, Trump wouldn't have won if we had a system where the most votes got you in. You know what I'm saying? Not that Hillary Clinton would have been any better, but whatever. Yeah, the educate flawless Jules says the education, the nation will be educated in critical thinking and political science. Exactly. Your population will know who their president is and who the vice president is and who the leadership are. That your average citizen will have a knowledge, a basic knowledge of the history of their country. Your average citizen will have a knowledge of science and mathematics. You know, basic. They don't have to, like, once you get to a certain point, you can do whatever you want to. Like our citizens could get more into the arts or whatever if they want to, but their basic knowledge would be there. I'm for an educated See, I don't fear an educated population. I don't fear educated people. I don't fear people that's smarter than me. You know why? Because how does that not benefit me? If you're smarter than Holip, then Holip benefits from your smartness. I can learn something from you. But in order for you to have that type of mentality, you got to have something inside of you that makes you um, happy with who you are. And so you're not walking around feeling like, all insecure. Because if you're insecure, then smart people are going to intimidate you. And then what you're going to do is, to prevent being intimidated, you're going to surround yourself with a bunch of sycophants. I don't want sycophants. I want intelligent people. I want to be surrounded by people who are smarter than me. So that way I can ask you questions. You know what I'm saying? But you're not going to hear this from the average black talking head. Well, the average black talking head is all about them and their ego and how brilliant and how great they are and all of this bullshit. I don't give a fuck about any of that, man. I really don't give a fuck about that. But here it is. Top 10 nations on the country: Finland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Switzerland, Netherlands, Canada, New Zealand, Sweden, Australia. You know what comes right after that? Israel, Austria, Costa Rica, Ireland, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, and then the United States of America. Let's see who's at the bottom. Number 52, Romania, Slovenia, Lithuania, Belize, Ecuador, Italy, Thailand, Kuwait, Uzbekistan, Bahrain, Poland. Those are at the bottom. So my thing is, let's look at the nations at the top. Let's see what they do right. And let's try to duplicate that. Social democracies are kicking everyone's ass. Social democracies. This is objectively true. There might be some people that try to spin it a certain way and say, oh, well, the reason why they're kicking everybody's ass is because of the blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. Break it down. These are the facts. Objectively, in all of these categories, these countries are ranking higher and doing higher than everybody else. Their citizens are happy. They are happy with their government, happy with their country. S. Perry, they're on the last. They're on the list. They're just way down there. Yeah, man. But if anyone if you don't have any other questions for me, I'm about to get up out of here. But I think I made my point. Those were my tough and powerful questions for the Black Power Americans. Hopefully they look at the archive and check this video. And maybe they can answer these tough and powerful questions that I have. Because y'all all know that I'm just scared to answer those tough and powerful questions for them. What about prisons in Afrikstan? Another one that I think we need to have a discussion on. I think we need to have a discussion on prisons. There has to be a justification for having a prison system. Why would we need a prison system in Afrikstan? That's a real question. That's not a sarcastic question. Oh, Adwar, anybody has a question, just ask it. I'm not getting up out of here. I'm just saying if nobody does, then I'm going to get out of here. But if you got questions, go for it. But why would there be a need for a prison system in Afrikstan? Like, what would be, because crime has to come from somewhere. Like, what would be the reason for there to be criminal activity in Afrikstan? I'm not, and keep in mind, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be. I'm just saying, what would be the reason for it? Even with that, like, child rapists and child molesters, it's like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, because I would check the stats on rapists and child molesting in the top 10 nations of the country in the world before we factor that into the equation as if that's an actual problem. I want to see what the percentage of rapes and child molestation and stuff like that is in those 10 countries. Because I'm of the opinion that if you have a functional society, these are problems that you wouldn't have to have a lot of you wouldn't have to deal with a lot. I'm not saying that you would never have to deal with it. And I do think that it's important that we discuss this. But I just want to know what the percentage of people like in those countries where rape and molestation and violent criminals are a problem within that society where everybody's basically being taken care of. I don't have those stats in front of me, but if y'all want to do a show on that, let me know, because I can study up and come back to y'all on that. I haven't really done the research on it, but I think it is something that, or if anybody wants to do the research on it and they want to have a show and talk about it, I'm more than willing to do it. I'm sorry, Adwar, I'm running my mouth. Oh, did I answer it? Was that it? Did I answer the question about that? Wait, let me see, Adwar. All right, what about diplomacy? How to vision out relationship with bordering countries, especially with business. Is that it? Is that the question? In the group, we have, let me get, because we got so many groups in the Ning site. Let me go to it now. Okay. In the group, we have BAIO, Department of State, International and Foreign. Why is my computer so damn slow? International and Foreign Affairs. Here you go, Adwar. Boom. Put that question in that group. Put that question in that group. But the basic answer to the question is, that's where we would have our diplomacy and our diplomats. People that are interested in that field, that's the group that they would go into. And forgive me, Bill. There's a lot of comments and I'm missing a lot of them. So you said, yes, please do a show on that topic. I guess it's the topic I was just talking about, right? About the prison system. Oh, okay. Okay. Brother Denobian says, I don't know how to search the BAIO to see if there's a PHX group. Forgive me, I don't know what that is. What's a PHX group? Oh, Phoenix. Oh, damn, I'm so retarded. Yeah. An Arizona group. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I am so retarded right now. Actually, to answer the question, I'm sorry, I'm doing it for you. Go to groups on the left-hand side, and when you get to groups, click on featured groups. That's the quickest way to get to your local chapters, because there's a lot of groups in the BAIO for different things. But if you go to groups on the left-hand side, click on that, and then click on featured groups, you can find the Arizona chapter there. You can find all of the state chapters there, actually. Phoenix, Arizona. Few people from Phoenix in there. I know that Brother Jonathan, I don't know if he's still listening, but he's working on trying to get everybody in the group into their local chapters. Because remember, we got like almost 500 members, but not everybody's in their local chapter. They're just in the group. So we really want to get everybody that's from their local chapter into their local chapter. And if you're in the BAIO and you're in this listening to me right now and you're in this stream, could you please sign up to your local chapter? That's very important. It's not just enough to just be in the group. You have to go to your local chapter so that we know how many people are in each state, because that's important. We got to know all of this is information is going to be utilized in our negotiations with these African countries. So the more people sign up, the more people let people know not only what state they're in, but what they actually do. Because like we said, we have groups in the BAIO dedicated to certain things. There's people that are into health and wellness. Get into that group. There's people into IT. Get into that group. There's people into diplomacy and stuff like that. Get into that group. There's a group in the BAIO. I can't think of a group that doesn't exist for something that you're interested in. And if it doesn't, we'll create it. You know? Should Afrikstan host European embassies? Embassies, oh, okay, embassies, not bases, right, Ifosa? Because having an embassy is not really that controversial. Yeah, you should have embassies on your land for other foreign, having a foreign embassy is not really that much of a problem from what I can see. Am I wrong about that? Now, bases is another story. It ain't gonna be no goddamn base from anybody on Afrikstan. But an embassy for a particular European country or whatever, or even African countries. Yeah, I hear you. Like no military bases, hell no. But a base, because that's diplomacy. Most places have like even in New York, there's a Angolan embassy. You know, like if I want to go down there, I can go down there and talk to somebody from Angola. So embassies in the land, no, that's not a problem at all that I can see, unless I'm wrong. I probably need somebody with a little bit more experience than me to answer that. But for my knowledge, it's not bad at all. Shauna T, yeah, South Carolina is there. Like I said, just go to groups on the left and featured groups. Once you get there, you see featured groups, all groups, my groups, and then featured groups. That third one, click on that and you'll see all of the states and all of the countries pop up. And South Carolina is definitely there. La, 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 la. Will Afrikstan allow mega churches? Hell no. I want to do, thank you, Ifosa. I want to do a show on that. I want to do a show on that. Because I had a discussion about the churches just in general, like the position of the church in relationship to the state here in America. Why aren't the churches considered a nonprofit organization? Why is it a special category because it's a church? Because if you're a nonprofit organization, you have to have an accounting of what you make. Right? If I'm not mistaken. Like what's the difference between a nonprofit organization has certain things that they have to go through and present to show that they don't make any profit. How come the church there's no accounting for the church? The church can just make money on top of money and never be taxed for it. I'm for taxing the church. That may sound controversial to you, but I'm for taxing the church. Or if the church is going to be a nonprofit organization or say that they don't make any money, then they're going to have to show it. They're going to have a better bookkeeping system. But this whole thing about I'm claiming the imaginary sky god, so therefore I'm free of taxes, that shit should be bullshit in our nation. Sorry, I might be in conflict with some of my BAIO members, but I'm sorry. The church has had a nice little run where they could just go off and not pay anything. Those days is over. And what is the church doing for the community anyway? What are they doing for the nation? Are they just sitting back preaching pie in the sky bullshit? What are they doing in terms of their input in the nation to help the nation? That you should be collecting all this money and not giving back to the nation that you're collecting it from. So I got a big problem with churches getting a free pass and not having to go through the same stringent things that all other nonprofit organizations have to go through. Church is a nonprofit organization. Yeah, I know. We can make the BAIO a church. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing it. I don't know what conclusion y'all want to come to collectively, but I'm staying away from that church shit. Information man, brother, I just sent you an email. When your live stream is over, contact me. I have to get you on my show ASAP. No doubt. If you're a black Muslim who wants a caliphate, then Afrikstan is not for you. Correct. Who's the real Aaron Collins? Who's that? I must have missed it. You know what? I need to put this thing. I have it on slow chat, but I put it on 5 seconds. I need to put it on 10 because the comments are coming in so quick that I'm missing a lot of them. The real Aaron Collins. I'm new to this channel. What's the BAIO all about? Oh, okay. Belle beat me to it. She put in the BAIO about us section. But in short, the BAIO is about descendants of the transatlantic slave trade in America and across the diaspora who want to have a nation state of their own on the continent of our ancestors, the motherland, Africa. We want land, we want infrastructure so we can build up the land and build up the infrastructure on the land, and we want a nation of our own. That's in short what it is. S. Perry asks, Holipsism, how will the charlatans and non-melanated people that want to destroy the community be vetted? Well, the good part about it is the charlatans and the non-melanated people. First of all, non-melanated people, I hate that term. Are you talking about black people or anybody that's not black? Then why would they be there? Like, if you're non-black and you want to come to Afrikstan, why are you coming? Are you a dentist? Are you a doctor? Are you like a highly skilled person? And do you want to transfer that knowledge or help educate the people in Afrikstan so that they can do the work that you're doing? Or do you want to come there and benefit off the work that we're doing? You want to get you a nice house in Afrikstan? You want to chill you want to get you a beach house in Afrikstan if you're not black? There's no place for anybody. If you're not a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade, why are you in Afrikstan? Because the only people that's going to be in Afrikstan that's not black is going to be people that have high skills that they are willing to transfer to the people. That's it. So am I going to say there's not going to be there's going to be a percentage of people in Afrikstan that's not African, but those people are going to be there for a specific purpose and for a specific reason. But if you're just talking about somebody who's white who wants to get a house in Afrikstan so they could chill. No, nigga, you stay in right here in America, or go to Europe, or go to one of these other countries. You're not. This is not no vacation resort house for white folks. Our land is for our people. What about continental Africans? Continental Africans are more than welcome to come to Afrikstan if they are providing something for the Afrikstan people. African Americans and African diasporans, if you're providing something for those people, then hell yeah. As a matter of fact, continental Africans are the first one. They got first dibs. You know what I'm saying? Will Afrikstan have tourist destinations? I'm quite sure. But guess who our main tourists are going to be? Continental Africans, Africans from other parts of the continent. We have more than enough countries. So if somebody from Nigeria wants to take a tour of Afrikstan, of course. So do Christians also have to place Afrikstan above Christianity? Everybody has to place Afrikstan above everything. Or else why are you there? Swirling shouldn't be a question in Afrikstan. Stay in America. Who you want to swirl? I don't even know how swirling would even be a factor in Afrikstan, since we're dealing with, like I said, descendants of the slave trade and and African diasporans. I don't know how that would even be a factor. Like, all right, let me address this. I'm gonna group all of some of these questions together, and I want to give a basic answer for this. Why are we assuming that we're going to bring dysfunction to Afrikstan? Because think about this. The people in the BAIO right now are people that want land, infrastructure, nationhood. They want to have a nation state on the continent. There ain't a lot of us. Just in the BAIO group alone, how many dysfunctional Negroes do y'all see in there? So why do we assume that we're going to bring any dysfunction, or what we're bringing to the continent is people who want to have a nation of their own? Those type of people are not usually engaging in a lot of the Negro activities that we have to worry about here in America. I don't even think that it's really a factor, to be honest with you. Anti-gravity asks, who are you swirling? Who are you against swirling? Or are you against marrying non-African Americans? Not sure what you're referring. Is that me he's talking to, or is it somebody else he's asking? Because everybody knows how I feel about black on black love. Classic educated melanated people. I'm gonna tell y'all, this is just me. I do not like that term melanated people. I'm sorry. I don't use it. You never really heard me use it. I don't use that melanated people bullshit. I use Africans. I refer to Black African people. This melanated people shit, I'm not down with. Because everybody wants to slide in on that melanated people bullshit. Melanated people. I don't listen, melanated, all the rest of those melanated people ain't giving a damn about us. So I'm not grouping them. You know, we always want to include other people that don't give a shit about us into our interest. I'm for the interest of Black African people, the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. If you're not a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade, if you're not a victim of that, then why are we talking about you? See, this is what happened with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was about the police killing and abusing Black people here in America. And then what happened? Other groups come in and try to twist shit around to fit their agenda. And now their agenda is about LGBT rights and all this other bullshit. And now black people getting killed is just some side issue. Nobody even talks about it anymore. This is what happens when you go off your mission statement. What is the BAIO about? BAIO is about land, infrastructure, nationhood. It's about descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. That means black folks in America, black folks throughout the diaspora who are scattered across this world, living as second and third class citizens in somebody else's land. That's what the Afrikstan is for. That's who the Afrikstan is for. So why are we including all these other people in that equation? If you are a Native American, this has nothing to do with you. If you're from Turtle Island, this has nothing to do with you. You can be from Turtle Island. But what are you talking to us about Afrikstan for? It has nothing to do with you. So no, I don't use that melanated people because too many people try to slide in on our shit. And you know another thing, I didn't even think about this, but think about this. But Diane brought this point up. You got people saying, what can you do for Africa? You want to go to Africa? What can you do? Africa don't need you coming over there, duh, 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 duh. But yet, you can be from Africa, come to America and benefit from all of the civil rights struggles and works that blacks did here in America. And that's okay. That's okay. You can piggyback off of the work that we did, and that's cool. But you don't want to give us a nation state on a continent where our ancestors came from. Listen, I'm starting to get heated. Let me calm it down. Let me calm it down. Let me calm it down. It's certain discussions that I'm not willing to have anymore. And one of the discussions is whether or not African Americans, African diasporans deserve a nation of their own. If you don't feel that we deserve a nation of our own, I have no conversation for you. That boat has sailed. That discussion is over. So this whole bullshit about you can come to the continent, but we don't give you no land. You just got to help build up our land. Fuck you. Fuck you. And I mean that sincerely. Because you disrespecting me by saying that. You disrespecting my people by saying that. You disrespecting African Americans and you disrespecting Africans in the diaspora by making that statement. If the fucking Chinese can have a piece of Africa, then we can have a piece of Africa. If every other nation on this fucking earth can go over there carving up the motherland and you can work with them, then you can work with us. And keep in mind, I don't want to put this us against them things because I don't have a beef or a problem with continental Africans. I want to be specific and clear with that. But they have their own bootlicking niggas amongst them, just like we have our own bootlicking niggas amongst African Americans and African diasporans. So none of us holds the market on that bullshit. But I'm speaking about the bootlicking niggas who call themselves, who are from the continental African demographic. I'm not talking about all continental Africans because I'm dying to work with my brothers and sisters on the continent because that's who they are. They're my brothers and they're my sisters. And I don't care how many bootlicking niggas try to bring some division between us, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because we need each other. But I'm saying this can't be no one-way deal. We haven't had any land or inability to have any socioeconomic and political control over the context of our reality. We've always had to live under somebody else's infrastructure, under somebody else's rule, under somebody else's laws. So don't tell me I'm going to leave the rules and the laws of the white man and then come under the rules and the laws of somebody else without establishing something of my own. We can coexist on the continent with an Afrikstan. Just like you can have a Nigeria on the continent, you can have a Senegal on the continent, you can have a Namibia on the continent, you can have an Angola on the continent, you can have an Ethiopia on the continent. Nobody ever goes to any of those nations and accuses them of being divisive just because they have a nation of their own. So what's the problem with African Americans and African diasporans having a nation of our own on the continent? How is that being divisive on the continent when nobody else is accused of being divisive because they got a nation of their own? So that discussion's over. Oh shit, I got to get out of here, man. I definitely got to get out of here. I definitely got to go. But yo, peace to everybody. Oh, I'm gonna try to be on Dynas. Me and Dynas are trying to do a show at 4 p.m. But that's the reason why I got to get out of here, because I gotta make a run and then try to get back so I can be on his show. So I will holler at you good people later. Thank you for tuning in, and peace.